Welcome to the Rose Show. So this picture here is a toy that I used to play with when I was a kid. Some of you might recognize it. You put the shapes into the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Fisher Price, I think.
I wrote a poem about this toy because the first part of the poem is a sort of my first reaction to it when I look at it as an adult. And the second part of the poem is sort of my second reaction as I look at it as a more spiritual perspective. And so that's how we can go through life. You know, you might look at any situation with your first reaction might be whatever your first reaction is. And then you can choose a second reaction. You can say, wait a minute, I don't have to react that way. So that's a process that I continue to develop every day. So the poem is called In the Center. I didn't like that plastic toy, and I will tell you why. I saw artificial borders teaching kids to categorize. If you stereotype the pieces and separate them based on shape, I would like to be the circle, but I'm being pushed through a triangular space. Looking at the toy again, I thought of a different way to view it. Now I see a container representing a giant planet. I imagine kids bringing different shapes together in the center, dancing in celebration of diversity and unity. Life is like a game. You choose how to play, and that's what creates your reality. Instead of motivating people to be the winner, let's build win-win situations, playing together on the same team. We can produce long-term transformations. Visualize the shapes in that toy representing people from different paths of the world, coming together into the center, dancing and living in harmony as one. So,
Very good.
I was going to make it into a song, but I thought it would be nice to do it as a poem, something new for me, to just have a little more freedom of the words when you don't have to fit them into certain phrases and chords. So, Leanna, you sort of gave me that idea last week when you said that my lyrics were like poems, and maybe I didn't need the guitar so much every time, so that's why I brought up the keyboard too. So, thank you for inspiring me. So this here says Baptist, Unitarian Universalist, Spiritualist, Pagan, and Unity member. So that's my path so far. I grew up in the Baptist church, and I was saved. They wrote it in my Bible one day, so I remember the day I was saved. And I accepted the things they told me to accept, and even though I didn't understand everything that I was supposed to accept. So then as an adult, I decided to change to the Unitarian Universalist Church, and they were much more open-minded, so I enjoyed that. I was living in Rochester, New York at that time. My mother told me that they don't believe in anything at that church. They don't believe in anything. I was like, huh, they believe in everything. They accept everything. Hi, Mary. Yeah, both of my parents were very strongly religious-minded. My dad read his Bible every day, and he underlined certain things, highlighted it. They met at a religious college called Coley Divinity School, and they both wanted to become professional. My dad wanted to be like somebody that goes into the hospitals, and my mom wanted to be a Sunday school teacher, which they never really ended up fulfilling either of those paths, but they met on their love for religion. But then it turned out my dad decided to convert to become a Catholic. My mom was not happy about that. So that was kept a secret from me and my brothers for a long time. And then when my mom passed away, my dad and my brother, one of my brothers told me, and that he'd been a Catholic for years. I was surprised. Because he didn't go to church, but he read his Bible every day, so that's what matters. And so I guess that probably caused friction between them. They didn't talk about things much, in front of us. But unfortunately, religion does cause friction for people.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, to me, religion is meant to be about love and peace and harmony. So that's what I love about unity. So I do feel that. I feel that positive connection. I don't feel people judging each other, pressuring each other to agree on one set of beliefs. We can choose how we believe. So that's one of the things I love about unity. So after that spiritualist church in Rochester I went to for a while, I don't know, it was okay. It's like I've tried on all these different labels and they never really fit quite right. It's like you go to the store, you try something on, and you're like, well, it's a little loose, but maybe I'll grow into it. And then Pagan in Rochester, there was a group called Circle, and that's an acronym that stands for Community of Individuals Celebrating Life on Earth. That spells Circle. And it was a beautiful group. We would stand in a circle and hold hands and sing songs. I'd bring my drums sometimes, and there was an altar in each of the 4 directions. And so 4 different people would say a prayer. We'd start in the east, call in the spirits of the east, and go around the circle, and somebody would give a little talk, and we'd sing songs. And I really enjoyed that group a lot. So when I moved to Binghamton to be with my wife Sarah, who's here today, and I looked for a group similar to that here, but I couldn't find one. So that's maybe a unique kind of group they have in Rochester. So, but I did visit the Pagan group here, and it was very different, and I didn't get that warm, fuzzy, welcoming feeling that I was hoping for. So I only went to one gathering, and then I just faded away from that. And then I found unity. And isn't it interesting that these are all labels with it, except for unity? We're not unityists, right? We're just unity member. I couldn't think of a label for that, and that kind of made me happy. I don't really want to be labeled. Like you can say I'm a pagan, but you wouldn't say I'm a unity, right? It's because we're all pieces of one puzzle, and like we're just a piece of something. It's not black and white. It's like, maybe 10 years from now, this list for me will be longer. I don't know. I'm still young. I'm just on a path. But I'm really enjoying my time here. I've been here 2 years now as the music leader. And before that, I used to visit Unity once in a while. Usually when Jody Kessler was going to be the speaker, I would show up. And but I've been here, and I feel like I've grown spiritually, and I'm always inspired to write songs. And I encourage you all to do something creative, because it doesn't have to be writing songs, but there's a lot of different ways we can be creative, because that's how we express our divine energy, right? The Creator created, and we should also create, because we are creators. Divine energy is within us, but to release it and express it is where the power happens, because it expands. So I hope you do something creative every day. You can. Well, even going to work, if you go to work, you can do things creative there too, but it's usually a little more contained or limited. So if you have the freedom to do whatever you want, choose to do something creative. So this says, these are the 5 principles or beliefs that I found on the unity.org website. So if my mom were ever alive, she'd probably say unity doesn't believe in anything, just like she did about this. So I would say, well, here's what they believe in. God is good. People are good. Because God is within us. So thoughts create reality on an individual level. prayer is powerful and action is needed. You can't just think about all these things. You actually have to do something. So, God, people, thoughts, prayer, action. That's how you can kind of boil it down to one sentence. God is in people, thoughts, prayer, lead to action. That's how I would say my elevator speech, maybe. An elevator speech is how you can summarize something that is very vast into something that you can say in 1 minute or less, is an elevator speech. And so I did actually write I wrote a little elevator speech. Yeah. And then I'm going to share 3 more that people emailed me because I asked people to email me their elevator speech for what is unity. Unity in the Southern Tier, more specifically. So unity is accepting of the beliefs of others, like I was saying earlier. Accepting, that's important for me. There is good in every approach to God. So all the different paths. You know, Jody Kessler talks about interfaith, that all the common things, the overlap between the different religions. And that resonates with me. And I looked for an interfaith church, but I haven't found one yet. Maybe because once you become a church, one thing, you're sort of excluding all the other ones. So maybe they don't have a church. Maybe they're just, every church is like part of the interfaith belief. But if anyone knows of one, let me know. Of an interfaith church. But they believe that all religions are equally good. So that's how I feel. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness, not geographic locations. That makes sense to me. I really have a hard time imagining a place up there and a place down there and somebody deciding where I'm going to go when I die. It doesn't make sense to me. But creating feelings of heaven or hell, I can imagine, and I've seen happen in the world. Like war to me that's hell. My dad fought in World War II and survived. He lived to be 88, and he died in 2012. So he didn't talk about it much. He became a very peaceful man after that. I think that sometimes hell can lead to heaven. I think that's what happened for my dad. He just learned how to have a very peaceful life. Raised 6 children with my mom. He was the stay-at-home dad back then. That was unusual.
Nice.
So he was kind of a hermit. He didn't really like to go out. He's a very sweet, very gentle man. So we create our own heaven and hell by our thoughts and actions. Salvation is not something that happens after death. Salvation occurs when we transform our views. From anger, sadness, judgment, fear, worry, or doubt, to feelings of love, joy, peace, and harmony. Unity seeks direct knowledge of the divine. So it's a direct experience. That was how pagan gatherings were for me. It felt like a very direct connection, and I enjoyed that. You know, like when we called in spirits of the north, and you could feel it in your body. So that's my elevator speech of what is unity. Now I have 3 more that people emailed to me that I want to share. So these words come from Liana. I think unity as a new thought church with the emphasis on the spiritual rather than the religious. That doesn't mean that it's not Christian-based. The early founders referred to Jesus as a teacher instead of someone to be worshipped. The primary teaching is that God is within. Everything is good. We emphasize affirmative prayer. It's directly available to us through Silent Unity. The group that sits at the home base in Kansas City. They are available by phone 24 hours a day. I encourage you to use that service. Prayer is the real root of unity, and healing results. Miracles have happened through prayer work. So I agree with everything there. But you know, isn't it interesting how each person can say a similar thing in a different way, their own little spin on it. So I encourage you all to do your own elevator speech if you haven't done yet, and something that's important to you. You know, what is unity, or if there's another thing in your life that's important, and you want to be able to share an explanation of it with someone else, and see if you can do it in under a minute. Because that kind of helps you to focus on the important aspects of it. Sometimes we get sort of overwhelmed with details and go off on tangents. And, you know, so try to be concise when you write your elevator speech. The next one comes from Becky. Unity is not incessant mind-numbing rituals, but people exploring and enlarging their spirituality together. Knowledge from many sources in a search for our beginnings and our divinity, to explore, why are we here? It's a coming together of people of light conscious, and its joyful, ever-folding endeavor of learning together and from one another. I find unity to be exciting because it's opened up many doors for me as we share our knowledge and experiences engendered by our search. And quite simply, unity makes me happy and not so alone in my personal journey. The work of the Fillmores has given me great hope to humanity. Isn't that beautiful?
Very nice.
So, and from Vera, hers is more concise. Unity is an open, diverse, affirming church that does not teach or believe in hell. It gives more symbolic, metaphysical meaning to the Bible. God is the source, and we are God in form.
Perfect.
That was perfect. That's good elevator speech.
So does anyone have any questions, comments that they would like to share?
Well, when you said about thoughts creating heaven and hell, when I was in second grade, my mother used to read me poetry. She would be bored when she'd iron. She'd recite poetry. And she recited this poem. It was out of a book about how we could have heaven on earth. It's all in our thinking. And that was that's when I opened up to these ideas. Because it was like a big light bulb went off, and I was aware finally of thinking your own thoughts. And I was so excited. I asked the teacher if I could read it to the class, because I thought everybody was going to be excited by it. The world should be excited by this idea. And she said, okay, and she was building things at her desk, and I stood by her desk, and no one really listened. The children were all doing things. And it was kind of sad, because I just wanted everybody to be excited about that idea. But that's, I think, what opened me up originally to these ideas. And the Seth work, you know, is just the same thing. You create your own reality. You know. And when you talked of creativity, I remember the Seth quote. He said, creativity is what keeps us alive. That was his exact words.
Yeah, I like that.
I know, it's true.
Because otherwise, if we don't, we become stagnant, stale, moldy.
Angry
You don't feel like you're achieving. It can be just a little thing, like doing
It
little
can
crafts. That's all.
implode in on you. I've experienced that. When you're not, it's energy. If you're not channeling that energy, you do start to become resentful, angry. You don't even know why you're feeling angry, because the energy is not, you're not using it. You're not using that God's energy that God gave us.
Yes, it becomes stagnant.
Yes.
And unhappy.
Yeah, it can make you sick, too.
Well, that's probably why so many people are getting sick. Well, that's one of the reasons. They're not letting their God energy be released. It's just like being trapped.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in other ways, like illness.
I've experienced that.
Can anyone else? Carla?
Well, basically, I'm a religious scientist. But the meanings are so close that The only thing that I think is different, just talking about religious science versus unity. Unity emphasizes more about the Bible and Jesus. And religious science doesn't. But if I was in an elevator, it would be a very crowded elevator. And if somebody asked me about unity, I'd say, the first thing I'd say, change your thinking, change your life. Then I would follow with we're each a cell in the body of God.
I like that.
And we create our own reality. Absolutely.
We do. And that's, you know, and it seems obvious, but some people don't agree, or you know.
We thought of it that way.
Yeah, they
just
feel
don't
like life
get
is
it
happening to them instead of
Yes.
they're creating their life.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
I didn't hear what Becky said, but Seth, Jane Roberts,
Right.
and Seth was my light bulb
First two.
back in the 70s. And I mean, I couldn't believe that I was in control of myself. My God, that was such, I couldn't believe it. Do you know, when I learned that, I got deathly ill.
Interesting.
I did. I had a terrible, terrible flu and bronchitis and all this. And I just kept thinking, you know, your body is getting rid of the old. Because my parents always controlled me, always told me what I was supposed to do. I don't ever remember Mom and Dad asking us, you know, what do you want to do?
Right.
Never.
Never.
So this was, we were living in Kirkwood, Missouri, and I was a Unitarian Universalist there, and they do believe, because everybody believes what they want to believe, and it's all accepted. Yeah.
Well, you reminded me of my mom when you said that, right? Because she said they don't believe anything.
Uh-huh.
And then that reminded me of something my parents talked about the Bible. And when I asked my dad, why did you convert to become a Catholic? Because I was just kind of puzzled by that. His father was a Baptist minister. He said because they take the Bible literally, and that's what he likes. He said the Protestants, they interpret it any old way they want. There's no right way, and it confused him, and he didn't know what was right, and he liked it to be clear. So that is why he switched. And my mom actually didn't really like the Baptists either. She couldn't find a church she liked. Before that, she was at a Presbyterian, and she played the organ there for them. And she she left the Baptist church because she felt like it was too masculine. Like she said, if they had a baby boy, if someone had a baby boy, it was like, congratulations. And if someone had a baby girl, it was like, better luck next time. So, as you can guess, my mom maybe exaggerates a little bit, but
And are you the only girl?
yes.
She's the only girl, so they must have congratulated your mother like
Yes.
5 times.
She wanted a girl, that's why she kept
And what
having
number
children.
are you in the line?
I'm the last one.
She's the last
If I
one.
had been third, they would have had 3 kids. She just wanted a girl, and then
She
stopped.
wanted a girl.
She had to keep going until she got a girl.
When I was working on the website, they say unity in the southern tier. And when you do unity in the southern tier and you put the letters at the end, IST, you become a unitist. So it can also be a unitist, also is there.
Yeah, and that rhymes with lunatic, so.